As Dr. Stenenbaum moved back to her seat, Mrs. Oric directed me to a fairly attractive older woman with heavily tanned skin, which said to me that she had recently returned from somewhere tropical. She also had shoulder-length salt and pepper hair and seemed extremely dignified, even more so than the company of women she kept. She was at least twice the age of the other ladies, but just as energetic. "Max, this is Genevieve Killington," Mrs. Oric said, as the regal woman took my hand and looked deeply into my eyes. "Killington?" I said, feeling weak in the knees and trying to keep my hands from trembling at her touch. I should explain that the Killington family is well known, even to someone like me. The Killington family is the one that the town of Killington, Ohio was named for, long before I was even born. If you go downtown Dayton, the Killington Tower is the tallest high-rise and its shining black walls stand out against the concrete and glass skyline. Dr. Stenenbaum spoke up and said with an air of humor, "I think we better let Max sit down before he falls down." Mrs. Killington took hold of my bicep and gave it a squeeze. She looked at the other ladies and said, "Oh, he's cute and he's got muscles." Dr. Stenenbaum spoke again, "Yes, Genevieve, I've seen them for myself. Now let the boy sit down." As I turned away from Mrs. Killington to take the chair that Mrs. Oric was directing me to, I suddenly jumped as I felt a hand on my butt. I spun around and saw Mrs. Killington looking at me as if I was a chili dog and she was the dog who hadn't eaten in a week. "He's got a nice bottom too," she giggled. "Genevieve," Mrs. Oric said in a chastising tone. "What?" Mrs. Killington said, "I'm not dead yet, Dottie." When she realized that Mrs. Oric was sitting me 2 seats away from her, she protested, "Why are you putting him way over there?" "Because the boy doesn't need you pouring all over him while he tries to eat," Mrs. Johanna said. I remember thinking to myself how prim and proper Mrs. Killington looked, and I found it extremely difficult that such a refined-looking woman could act so animalistic. Mrs. Oric then shared, "I do wish Holly could have been here. She's really having a hard time with this pregnancy." Dr. Stenenbaum said, "The poor thing must be scared to death that she'll lose this one too." Mrs. Johanna, I mean Harriet, said, "To lose 2 children so late in the pregnancies like she has." Sharon said, followed by a heavy sigh. "I saw her and her kids this morning," Mrs. Killington said. "She looked really good, lots of color in her cheeks. Mind you, her oldest son could use a bit of the belt though for the way his turned out. Give me a month with that boy and I'd straighten him out." As the ladies were exchanging gossip, something was gnawing at me, and then I realized what it was. I turned to Mrs. Oric and asked her, "I don't suppose you mean Mrs. Kim, do you?" All 5 of the ladies looked utterly shocked at my question. Mrs. Killington blasted out with a hearty, "You know Holly?" I nodded, "Yeah, I met her son Joji at the movies just a couple weeks ago. She gave us all a ride home from the movie because it was raining. But I didn't know she was pregnant." "Oh, now there's a fine boy if I ever saw one," Mrs. Killington said proudly. "A lot like his father, that Joji." Sharon added, "Let's hope he doesn't turn out to be such a lousy husband when he grows up." Mrs. Killington let loose a room-shaking laugh. "I can guarantee you that he won't be a lousy husband." "What's that supposed to mean?" Mrs. Oric asked. "Dottie," Mrs. Killington said, trying to squelch any nerves that may have been trodden upon, "the boy doesn't have any interest in girls." Dr. Stenenbaum joined in with, "It's not just playful fun that keeps him chasing after the other boys." Mrs. Oric put a hand above her chest and gasped, I never had a clue." She leaned forward, "Really?" Mrs. Killington laughed as she said, "Fruitier than a fruit basket." I had no idea I said anything until after I had asked, "You mean Joji's gay?"